check. Okay. Okay, fantastic. So we're live on YouTube as well. So good morning, everyone. Today is Friday, the 23rd of May, and welcome to another episode of the Crypto Hour. So obviously today we'll be talking quite a lot about we'll do our usual thing first, a couple of news to share with you, and then we'll concentrate on the big news of the week, which is obviously that Bitcoin has hit a new all-time high. Why why is this happening right now? And where can we go from here? And the main questions are a lot of people will ask themselves. And funny enough, it might sound funny to you, but as I always said, there will be a lot more people buying Bitcoin at this price than they bought at half the price. And that is normal. It's normal because because we are kind of like ingrained to follow the crowds. So something looks good when everybody's talking about it, and and everybody is talking about it now. So it's in the news everywhere, every newspaper you open, every news item you look at will talk about Bitcoin. Okay, let me share my screen and let's start this session. So let me go. First of all, we have looked at a couple of, won't pay too much attention to it today, but just just looking at the economic calendar. This is next week. Sorry, this week main news as the official rate in Australia was dropped from 4.1% to 3.85. Okay, so by 1/4%, which will make all your guys in Australia life a little bit easier. And apart from that, there aren't be any great bits of news. Just inflation in the UK and Canada slightly higher than before, so it's ticking up again. And then a lot of manufacturing figures, and the usual unemployment claims for the US. Today, we're waiting for simply retail sales from Canada and the UK have already come in. Nothing really that major. Next week instead. So again, we have the interest decision in New Zealand. Say, and then the most relevant decision for us as investors, excuse me, is the PCE price index, which is the main inflation measurements that the Fed uses to set interest rates in the US. So that will be next Friday. So those are the main thing. Now, a few bits of news that are relevant in for crypto. This is the bigger one by far. Okay, in the US, some big banks are holding talks to create a joint stablecoin. Okay, now this is for the banks. It's it's been like a thorn in their side, because you can tell me, you guys, if you have some money in the bank, how much are you getting in interest from the bank? Can anybody tell me? Is anybody getting more than 1% on their bank account?
Oh, 2.25.
2.25. Okay, that's pretty good already. But I would say for most people, in a normal checking account, the interest rate is around 0.1%, 0.2%, if any. Now,
I'm getting a bonus interest rate. I'm getting 5.4 in
okay,
ING. 5.4 in ING. Yeah,
fantastic.
you've got to meet certain rules, but the rules are easy. Like I think it's a minimum of $1,000 in a month. And you make 5 transactions and your balance has to be a little bit higher than the previous month. Well, I just
Well
swap.
done.
At the end of the month, I just swap my money around. I take it out and put it back in the next day, so I get everything.
Fantastic, fantastic. Is it limited to a certain amount in your account, or is it
Up to $100,000. Up to $100,000.
pretty
Yeah.
good? I will say 5.4% is excellent. But what I'm saying is that, why stable coins, which are one of the main things in crypto. So if you look at Tether, for example, if you look at here at the just to give you an idea, okay. Let's have a look on CoinGecko. So by market cap, Tether is the number 3 cryptocurrency. USDC is number 7. So have a look at then what else have we got? But it's just there are lots of other stable coins, but just these two combined, look at 100 Tether is 152 billion, and USDC another 61 billion. So together there's more than 200 billion of stable coins. And what do? Basically, if you deposit US dollars into them, what they give you? They give you a digital version of it. Okay, full stop. So it's $1 for $1. Okay, but what do they do with the money that you give them? They then invest them in treasuries, in bonds like corporate bonds, treasury like US treasuries and so on. So they get a yield on the money that you deposit with them. And so if you see, for example, if you have a Coinbase account, you will get, and you go and you buy you go USDC in your account, you automatically get I think it's at the moment 4.1% on your USDC. The same similar thing in accounts like Nexo or other crypto crypto providers. Why are they able to give you this much? It's because they make more on that money that you do. So at the moment, the yields on a long-term bonds are over 4.1%. They're closer to the 5% mark. That difference is their markup. Okay, so this is a big threat to the banking sector because this is how they make their money. They take your money and then they then lend it out at a higher interest rate, but they give you a lot less than what they're getting in the market. But if then you have a way of just having your cash without fixing it, fixing it for 3 months or 6 months without conditions, you can have your cash that generates 4% plus. Why do you need to deposit it in a bank? And this is causing them a lot of problems because it's saying obviously banks are based on fractionalized reserves. So with every dollar that is deposited in their account, they are then able to lend out a lot more than that. Okay, generally a kind of 1 to 10, or depending on this, the actual multiplier can be changed by the central banks, but generally speaking, they need your deposit to be able to then carry on with their business. Without your deposits, then the amount of money that they can lend out is reduced considerably. Okay, so what they're doing, they're trying to generate a stable coin that they can all benefit from. So money then doesn't go out of from the customers to other providers, but they stayed in the banking system. And also, there is this thing. I mean, if you heard about it, the Genius Act that's going through the Senate at the moment in the US, and it looks like now some Democrats have come on board, so it looks like it's going to get through. And what that will create then the legislation that allows banks to create not only a stable coin, but also they'll be allowed to then custody your crypto directly. Okay, and the moment that happens, it's really important because it would bring billions, hundreds of millions of new users to the crypto sector. People that are not like you, they already got crypto and they got crypto wallet, etc., etc. People that have been too scared to get into this sector will now have the security, so to speak, of their bank that they know and trust to then enter into this new sector. So this is a massive things that's coming from around the corner, and the all-time high that we're seeing this week in crypto hasn't come out of one bit of news. So this is kind of like, it's almost been like a grinding all-time high coming from macro conditions in the economy and from all these things I keep bringing to you every week. All these things that are making easier to invest in crypto. All this news that you hear about international companies now starting to operate in the same way that MicroStrategy is operating, kind of operating like a Bitcoin treasuries, like borrowing money to buy Bitcoin and so on. This is becoming quite normal. The latest bit of news, and this is, I mean, I don't know how true this is. I haven't had any time to actually double check it, but it's that Ukraine is very close to pass legislation to create a Bitcoin strategic reserve. So, and this is like this is just one country, but there are many countries across the world that are considering this now with part of their funds, not all of them, but part of their funds. And we're talking about trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. If only a small percentage is invested in cryptocurrency, then we can see at the moment the whole cryptocurrency world is, where is it? Where are we? We are at 3.6 trillions of market cap. Okay, the total cryptocurrency. So all the tens of thousands of coins all put together about 3.6 trillion, which is still a tiny amount compared to the overall traditional markets, compared to stocks and shares, compared to bonds, etc., etc. Just out of curiosity, after this all-time high, now Bitcoin has overtaken the Taiwanese dollar and has become the 10th largest currency by market cap. Okay, so the Australian dollar has been left behind now, Brazilian real and Taiwanese dollar, and then it's climbing up the rank. It's not that far away from the Hong Kong dollar as well. So slowly, currency that's only about 15 years old has overtaken kind of currency that have been there for decades, like Swiss franc, Australian dollar, the Brazilian currency, and so on. Quite impressive, and as you can see, so if you kind of like if you take out the top 5, which is the Chinese, the US dollar, the euro, the pound, and the Japanese yen, we are within kind of like all the other currencies are less than double the price of Bitcoin. So I mean, it kind of like difficult to imagine getting to this point even now. Now, for example, one SAT, which is the smallest part of Bitcoin, so it's like a 0.000000001 Bitcoin. This is one SAT. It's now worth more than a Korean. I don't know what the Korean currency is, sorry, but it's more than the one unit of Korean currency, and the yen, 1 yen is only about like six sats. So we always talk a bit of when Bitcoin will get to $1 million, then one dollar would be equivalent to 100 sats. So 1 sat will be 1 cent. Okay, at the moment at this price, $1 is 903 sats. But it's quite interesting to see. If you want to check it yourself, this is like fiatmarketcap.com, is the website. It's quite interesting, and you can check it against like the currencies, or you can check it against the countries. Now, if you can check it against the countries, then Bitcoin here, and this is kind of like number 12, because obviously you don't just have the euro, but you have like Germany and France in there ahead of Bitcoin. Now, other bits of news that I wanted to kind of like economic news that are interesting. You have heard a lot about President Trump wanting to sack Jerome Powell, the head of the Fed. Now, the Supreme Court says that he can't do that. He can't fire him because it's kind of like interesting. Just read this. Oops, sorry. I'm going to think that's sorry. I didn't want to do that. Oh, where are we? Yeah, the Supreme Court just said that the members of the quasi-private entity known as the Federal Reserve are protected against removal. So they have even the Supreme Court has admitted that it's pretty much like a semi-private entity, the Federal Reserve. But for us, it's just like, we know that Trump cannot just dictate economic policy. The Fed is at least theoretically independent from Trump, from the president, and they cannot hire and fire the chief of the Fed on a whim, which is interesting. Now, let me think. Okay, this other thing is quite important. Texas moves closest to establishing a Bitcoin reserve, and although we have said that we're talking about Ukraine and something like that, Texas and California on themselves, they would be between the largest countries, the largest economies in the world if they were not part of the United States already. So it's pretty big thing. So obviously there is a Senate bill that's going through the Senate. And this bill will incorporate Bitcoin into the state financial reserves. Okay, so what if at the moment, first of all, it hasn't been passed? Okay, but if it passes, what it means is that then part of the state financial reserve would be invested in Bitcoin. So it's all I said. There isn't one single bit of news that causes Bitcoin price to go, create a new all-time high. But it's all like all these things put together. Everybody's doing a little bit. If you see the number of companies now, they're including Bitcoin in the reserves, it's staggering. It used to be MicroStrategy and that's it. And then we had the miners that started buying Bitcoin and Tesla and then everybody else now is jumping on board because, just think about it. Often companies have got a large amount of cash sitting on their balance sheets. And, sometimes what they can keep them in cash or at least in kind of money market or treasuries, give them a return of 3-4% a year, or they can keep them in Bitcoin that has an average of year over year, or having returns well above 20%, compounded return. So it's becoming more and more attractive, especially as the US is and the whole world now is printing more cash. So the taps have started again. And there's a couple of things I wanted to show you here. Sorry, let me just go back. Right, make it a little bit bigger for you. Okay, that is the increase in basis point. So a basis point is 0.01%, okay, of bond yields across the world. Okay, so this is like the top one is Japan, and then we see all the other ones: Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, pound, etc., etc. Now, all across the world, the bond yields have literally over the past couple of months have gone up quite significantly. Although it might not seem a lot to you when you're talking about 0.2, 0.3%, or in the case of the the yen 0.8%, it's a lot. When you consider a lot of these countries, what was the announcement from Australia last week? The interest rate has been lowered, yeah? And where is it? What happened to the yields? The yields they're still up by about 0.3% compared to last month. So you pay more for the bonds. Okay, now the fact that paying more interest for the bonds, and I know the US is already paying more than $1 trillion in interest alone every year, it doesn't mean that they're going to run out of money, because different from you and I, if we couldn't pay our debt, we would go bankrupt. State doesn't go bankrupt; they just print more money. Okay, and so what happens is that there is more money going in circulation, and where does this money end? Because when a central bank issues bonds, and that goes into the balance sheet of the banks and on the private investors. So we all have the perception that we have more money. Okay, and that more money then gets invested. Okay, so all this cash is percolating through into all type of investments, and some of them are percolating through into crypto as well. Now, this is another bond graph that I wanted to show you. Now, we are at the point where the corporate bond yield has gone back to pretty much a 20-year high. So we are between 6 and 7%. So why is that relevant? It's because in particular pension funds have to produce a yield of between 6 and 7% to remain solvent, to be able then to pay your pensions and keep enough funds there to be able to do that over time. Now, if I can do in a way that it also protects them, then it's even better, because it means that they don't have to do like complicated financial transactions to be able to do that. Over time, the history of the past 15, 20 years, the stock market has roughly produced 5% above inflation. Okay, with the volatility and risk that there is associated to the stock market. Now, we're getting to returns of 6.5%, 7%. That would make it very, very really, really appetizing for big investment funds to buy corporate bonds at this price, because now they can get those kind of returns they have bought from the stock market without risk, or with a very little amount of risk. Even here, so this is the yellow graph is the TIPS. So these are Treasury inflation protected bonds. So this is the interest rate that you receive above inflation. Okay, this one, the blue one, is total, so includes inflation as well. But the yellow ones are a way of getting a return, let's say, especially for, if you draw a pension or something and you want to preserve your capital, that will produce this kind of return over the inflation. So if inflation is at 3%, this will pay you 5.77 a year. If the inflation is at 10%, that will pay you 12.77 a year, and so on. So it goes up. Now, if that gets to 3% or above, again, that becomes like a fantastic return that will promote a big buying of this kind of securities, because then you have like a positive return guaranteed for 30 years above whatever inflation could be generated by the US dollar by economic decisions. Okay, so so the kind of like now at the moment the whole world is issuing more bonds. Issuing more bonds means putting more cash into the economy. So we're talking about, again, quantitative easing again. No, and well, in the past we've been talking about quantitative tightening after the pandemic, where we started easing again. And the reason why the yields have gone up so much in the bond is because there is like more supply at the moment of bonds than demand. So to attract people to buy their bonds, and they're offering more, give you better conditions. The moment when we start seeing, like, we get to this figure of about 6.5, 7%, and 3% in the tips, then that's when the demand is really going to come flooding in, and then we'll see the yield starting to go down because there is kind of like more demand for these things than supply. But another couple of things that's important to share with you are security again. So this is a kind of like a practical security, and this is, you know, guys, I'm telling you that I don't have access to my crypto accounts on my wallet, on my phone. And this is exactly a case like this happened right here in London. Okay, so what happened is that guy got into like a Uber, which is kind of like a fake Uber ride. So this guy was offered something like, I think, a drug cigarette, you know, that should actually make you think, because you're not supposed to smoke in a taxi in the UK. It's against the law. But anyway, as a result, he lost consciousness, and so his phone was stolen, and he had access to his crypto on his phone. So he had his private keys on his crypto. So within half an hour, his wallet was drained of $123,000. Okay, and then, as I say, with crypto, you know, can be very difficult to get these funds back. So I'm just telling you, just for safety, I prefer not to have access to my main crypto accounts on my phone. So I only keep on my phone the crypto funds that I want to spend, that I'm likely to spend when I'm out. You know, if I if I want to buy things with crypto, then I'll have just what I want to spend there and no more. And another thing that's worrying as well is hackers. They started using, for those of you that have a Ledger cold wallet, just to remind you that although it is like a physical device, and this is, I've got one here. Okay, so can you see? So this is a Ledger. This is a Ledger a Nano X, okay, wallet. And although it's a physical device that you need to authorize transactions on your account, just remember what represents your wallet or your crypto account is the seed phrase. Okay, so that list of 12 or 24 words in a certain order that represents your wallet. And if you give that seed phrase to anybody else, they have access, they can recreate your wallet on another device, and they can steal your money. So now, very cleverly, what they have done, so generally when you use your Ledger, you need to use the Ledger Live app on your computer, which is an application, then you connect your Ledger to it. So what they've done, they install on your computer a fake Ledger Live app. Okay, and then as you are interacting with this, you will get like a prompt to say that you need to update whatever your details, and you need to reinsert your seed phrase. So don't do it. If that happens to you, it should never happen to you. I think if it happens to you, then stop. You know, delete the Ledger Live app. You can delete that, no problem. Nothing happens to you, and then you can go on to the ledger.com and reinstall it. Okay, but you should never ever respond to a prompt to ask you to do the seed phrasing. Okay, and in this, if you do that, then basically you're giving somebody else, you know, like the access. Like if you're giving somebody your bank card with your PIN number, your passwords, and everything else that they need to take money out of your account. Okay, now after I scared you, we can start talking about, we can start playing a couple of games. So, so let's have a look. This is Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin dominance. Okay, just go to the Bitcoin, Bitcoin price. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, as you can see here, so this is the activity on the daily chart of Bitcoin. I'll make it a little bit bigger for you so we can see it. So we are now here. We are now made a new all-time high. So that one held since the 20th of January. And now as of Wednesday, we made a new all-time high. You remember what I told you guys before going on holiday in April? I told you we've been kind of like for 3 months we sat in this range, and I told you as soon as we made a new high above above this point here, about the so literally why do we always have the zoom controls in a way? Okay, as we went about the 92,000 mark and closed above this, so here from the 22nd of April, then there was nothing really in the way of a new all-time high. Okay, and so because there was nothing here that there hadn't been already used before. So as you can see, it's taken then from the 22nd of April now to the 23rd of May. It's taken a month, but really there hasn't been any significant drop in price. Okay, and we are now at a new all-time high. As I said to you before, looking at the previous moves, then I expected this one to get to at least the first impetus maybe by today or tomorrow to get around between 113 and 115. At the moment, the high has been 112. But then to eventually maybe in a couple of weeks to get to around the 130,000 level and then pause there for a little while, like he has done, as you can see here in the previous gains, and then pause, then another increase in price and then pause, and similar thing here. Okay, so if you see here from the low to the previous high. Okay, and if we just take that across, it will take us again to around 130, 135,000. But more interesting, I wanted to show you what if we look at the last cycle. Okay, so remember that the 4-year cycles is that when we have the Bitcoin halving, that every 4 years. So we had one in 2016, then we had another one in 2020, and another one last year in 2024. Okay, now, so if you look at the previous cycles, high and low, so this is the 2016 to the 2020 cycle. The high was in 2017 or 18? At the end of December 2017, and the low was 1 year later in December 2018. Okay, now I'm just trying to let's play a game. So if we go from the low in 2018 here to the low of the next cycle, okay, so as you know, 2021 we went to to about 70,000, 69,000, and then we dropped back to just over 15.5. Okay, but if we go from the lowest of 2018, so you bought it at the lowest price, and then you kept it, and you hadn't sold your Bitcoin, and you sold it, let's say, at the worst possible time, which was at the low of 2022, that would have been at a 393% increase. Okay, if you go from the low to the low. And then in the following so if we look at that and we look at this cycle, so if we take it from the low of 2021, okay, and we want to achieve the same percentage to the low of the next cycle, okay, so that was the low of 2020 to 2024, then the next cycle is obviously 2024 to 2028. So where could the low be in that cycle if we assume that the same growth? So 393% takes us, oh, look, what a surprise. Takes us to about 76,000, which is, the point at which the market had a drop here when it had the previous all-time high. It stopped at around that level, and then it started again the next impulse phase. So my belief is, and I might be, I don't know, might be right, I might be wrong, but I don't think we are going to go below this level again. Okay, so I think this is the bottom of the next, the bottom of the next bear market. So between 74 and 77, around that figure. I mean, if we want to be exact here, it would be about 76,600, but this is just like a guesswork. Okay, and now if we do the same thing with the highs, so if you bought your Bitcoin in the end of 2017 at the worst possible time, and there would be somebody that would have bought Bitcoin at that price and then had to wait about 3.5 years for to show any profits. But if we go from the high of 2017 to the high of 2021, see, that is a 251% gain. So even if you bought at the worst possible time and you kept it all the way to the top of the market, that would have been a 251% gain. Now let's project that to the next cycle. Okay, now I need to make a little bit bigger because that, as you can see here, this line here is a 251% projection from the previous high. So if, I mean, obviously there is no certainty about this, but this is why you get a lot of people that are predicting that Bitcoin will get to about 250,000 in this cycle. Because that, if we project from the previous high, that will take us to about 243,000. And I have heard a lot of people that expect us, to hit 200,000 by the end of the year. Take it for what it is. This is not financial advice, but it is kind of like having educated guesses. Okay, so I would say at the moment, immediate target for me, and I got some Bitcoin positions open, the immediate target is 115,000. Midterm around 130 to 135. And then we're talking about midterms, we're talking about the next, maybe couple of months. And then by the end of the year, I do expect us to get above the 200,000 mark. Will it happen or not? We don't know. We don't know about this, but this is an only try and guess. Now, let's take this to one step further. So let's go to the altcoin market. So if you see this on my right, on my watch list, I've got total, which is the total market cap. Then we got total 2, which is the total market cap without Bitcoin. Total 3 is the total market cap without Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then others, which is again the total market cap of all the crypto coins in circulation minus the top 10. Okay, so from number 11 forward. So now if we look at this, and again, this is as you can see at the moment, the total market cap is about $3.5 trillion. And the altcoin, apart from the top 10, is only about 280 million. Okay, so it's a small percentage. You can see how much of the crypto total market cap is represented by top 10 coins. It's massive, over 90%. But let's do the same thing here. Okay, so let's do the previous cycle first. Okay, make it a little bit bigger because otherwise I won't be able to do anything with it. Okay, so this is the low of the 2022, and this is the low in 2018. Let's see if I can make it a little bit bigger because otherwise I can't put my pointer there. Okay. So the same thing that we did for Bitcoin, okay? So from low to low, this is slightly different. The numbers that start being a little bit more staggering, okay? Now, from the low of 2018 to the low of 2022, when I remember, so I'm not going to the high, okay? From low to low, when the altcoin market cap lost about 90% from the previous high in November, it's still 1,100% increase. Okay, where if we go from the same period, if we go from high to high, so from the 2018 in this case, to November 2021, that's a 520% gain. So let's project this to the current cycle. Where will that take us? Sorry, let me just get that a little bit more precise. I don't want to already big numbers. I don't want to overstate the numbers. Okay. So second one, let's see where that takes us. What that, remember, is 1,100%. Okay. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it's a nice game to play. Okay. There we are. So 1,100% will take us to, and that would be, and we're talking about the low of the next cycle. Okay, which is a little bit difficult to believe at the moment. But if that was true, then the low of the next cycle between 2024 and 2028 would be at 835 billion, which is about 3 times of where we are now. And instead, if we go from high to high, and again, this is like 500%. Sorry, I need to make this a little bigger. Bigger. Okay, what was that? 515. Okay. Okay. So this is interesting. So obviously the numbers are huge and kind of even, we can see that it can be the low of the next cycle because we're already being lower than that. Okay. So at the moment, from if we went from this low of 2021 to the low of the current cycle started in April of last year. So that would be the low, which is 116%. So it's not quite the same as that one. But I'm just applying the same number just for fun. Okay. The fact that these numbers are high, this could even if it's didn't represent the low but represented the high, it will still be a significant increase from where we are now. And I'll say, what does it mean in terms of number? What does it mean? It means that the last time in 2021, the total market cap of all coins, so outside of the top 10, was about $500 billion. At the moment, we're still sitting at 282. Although we had a nice increase over the last few days, we're still far away. Bitcoin is doing an all-time high. We're not even doing a cycle high. So a cycle high at this moment was in December of 24, which was, like a good 70, 80% higher than we are now. Now, I am 100% convinced that not only we're going to make a new cycle high, we're going to make a new all-time high. Where that is going to take us, I don't know, but it will be somewhere between these two lines, definitely. So we expect Bitcoin to more than double from here in this cycle. I'm expecting the altcoins in the same time to do about, at least 5 times where they are now. So because at the very least, I expect this total to double. So I expect the altcoin market to get to about, at the very least, 1 trillion. So we are at 280 now. Just do the maths. It's about roughly about 4 times where we are now. And when is that going to happen? So this is like kind of like not quite yet. As you can see now, the actual others, if you see these four numbers, the one that is growing faster at the moment. The altcoins are growing faster than Bitcoin and the other coins. The thing to look at is the Bitcoin dominance, which is this chart here. Make it a little bit bigger so you can see. So as you can see, over time, when the price has started growing again from September 2022, we were about, Bitcoin represented about 40% of the total crypto market cap. Now it represents about 63, 64%. Now, for me, kind of as this chart turns around and start pushing to the downside, that would be for me the beginning of what we call the altcoin season. Okay, and when is that going to happen? If we look here at what happened, what are the way that the market is behaving. At the moment, we are in an uptrend, so we need to see this uptrend being kind of like broken, and we need to see a downtrend start to develop. I mean, for that, the first possible sign of this, for me, would be a break below this point here. Okay, so at the moment we are 63%. When we start creating a new low and going below the 62% mark, so that for me it will be a good sign that we are heading in the right direction. And the actual goal, when I say when does it actually really start, will be when we have the green flag, will be when we drop below 60%. So below this point or low, because this will mean that the uptrend has been terminated, and then this will carry on to the downside. It doesn't mean so this is just the relationship between Bitcoin and altcoins. It doesn't mean that Bitcoin will go down. It just means that normally that the altcoins will be gaining value faster than Bitcoin. Okay, which normally is the third phase of the bull market. Let's say Bitcoin goes up first and is still doing that, then you get the main altcoins that start following. So like the ones I would say in the top 10, and the third phase is the altcoin market. So now over the next couple of weeks and months, I expect some of the top 10 to start outperforming Bitcoin. So the Ethereum, Cardano, Solana to start growing faster than Bitcoin, and then at the same time the altcoin then will pick up pace and start performing even better than the top 10. Okay, so the next step, the next things I'm waiting for really is to start seeing this total Okay, weekly charts are a little bit less noise. So to start seeing us approaching again the December high, and then after that the all-time high from 2021, and this will be just the beginning. Okay, so we've had a really good chance normally, by this stage in the previous cycles, things are taking off where it's almost like too late by now to start buying crypto, but we've been given like a good opportunities now to get back in the market. Again, guys, no financial advice, but there is a very good opportunity right now to buy cryptocurrencies. If you want, I mean, it's still, if you want to contact me, there's still a chance to get in the carbon copy crypto opportunities. Please contact me individually if you're interested in that. But I will say, whatever you do, don't get disheartened by how long it's taken to get to this point, because the fun hasn't really started yet. So it's been a long speaking session today. We got time for maybe 1 or 2 questions if you have any, or otherwise I will wish you all a fantastic weekend. Any questions here?
Hi, Luca. I have a very quick question.
Thank you.
How safe is this Face ID using for mobile phones?
Well, it's not safe at all. Simple as that, because if you get mugged in the street, the people just need to point the phone at your face and they got access to your phone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
then,
thank you.
so then the question is not so much how safe is, because at the end of the day, somebody's pointing a knife at you and he's asking you, okay, give me the password for your phone. You're going to give it to them anyway. But the thing is, it's important that you don't keep things on your phone that they can easily use to access your funds. For example, I don't use any banking app on my phone. I know they say easiest thing is very convenient, etc., etc. I don't have it. So people steal my phone, they steal my phone, fine, but they can't get any of my funds. They want my crypto, they won't be able to access my crypto from my phone.
Yeah. It
So-
seems like recently someone withdrew money from like a crypto from my MetaMask wallet. Is it possible?
So that it is possible, but more probably than not, you are giving them access to it.
Say again?
So probably in one of the things that you have done online, you are giving them access to your MetaMask account. So if you shared your seed phrase anywhere, so you could have happened years ago, could have happened. The other thing that could have happened is that they have installed spyware on your computer. So that would worry me. Do you know?
Yeah, that seems like because it was doing something like that this summer, keep saying there's somebody who wants to access to it and stuff like that. And then I thought, oh, I'm not in Thailand and stuff. But recently I just noticed there's some money being transferred on the days that I did not use at all. And so I was just wondering, it's not, I mean, it wasn't that much amount there, but still, so something was gone. So I was start worrying about my phone now because it's like, seems there's something went wrong.
Yeah, that is the problem. So have you got MetaMask on your phone as well
Yeah,
with the same account?
yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. That's the real question. I don't know. It's with MetaMask, if somebody have got access to your MetaMask account, they could have exported, pardon me, the seed phrase, and then recreated the MetaMask account somewhere else. What I would do is just create a new MetaMask account, and then on a different, either on a different computer or a different browser, or a different, if you got, better yet, if you got a cold storage wallet like Ledger or Trezor, and then transfer any funds that you got left in your MetaMask account in the other one.
Because how do I transfer that NFT from AIW?
You can send NFTs as well.
Send also to,
Yeah.
okay, because it just recently seems like a lot of those happening. So I was just actually quite shocked, kind of, and yeah. Okay, so I have to, but because I went to Apple Shop and to ask if is there possible that people can use my Apple phone and computer. They said, oh, they're so secure, it wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, that probably is right, but probably you might have your MetaMask on your computer as well.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so that's more likely that your computer got infected.
Computer got infected.
Mm.
Although it's Apple, or
Yeah, but if you downloaded something, some spyware that they could have, and they might have got access to your computer. Sometimes they can see what you do on your computer, but it could even be sometimes somebody can actually get access to do things on your computer when it's on.
yeah,
And
that's right. That's
open.
what I noticed sometimes too. So I heard, I mean, I didn't have it in my computer, but I just heard that there's some people do that and stuff. Okay, so is that being like better that I get a totally new computer and phone, or what should I do now then? How, because everything is in my phone. That's
Well, then I would say, at the very least, yeah, transfer have another wallet somewhere else and transfer everything you got. I mean, it's good in a way that you still got funds on your wallet, that you haven't got everything that's been taken. But I wouldn't trust. I wouldn't
there was
trust.
everything was there was well, it was taken, I think, and I just yeah,
Then
there
yes,
wasn't that much. I
yeah, no,
wasn't.
send out anything that you want to keep. Like you say, if you got NFTs or something like that, then send them out to a different wallet and forget about that MetaMask wallet and delete it. So as long as
Okay.
you have just check that you haven't used the MetaMask wallet to access anything that you need that address for. So either don't use it at all or or delete it.
Okay.
If you don't send any funds and they can't get anything else from it, but I
Yeah.
will be worried of thinking, well, is my computer safe or not?
Yeah.
I will get your computer checked out for vulnerabilities, definitely.
Okay. I'll try again then. All right. Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome. All right, guys. So for today, that is it. So I will wish you all a fantastic weekend, and yeah, we'll see you again. I'll see you again next week.
Did you say we have a meeting on Sunday?
I'll do an update on the Carbon Coffee Crypto on
Okay.
Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
All
Thank you
right.
so much. Bye.
Thanks. Bye, Mugi. Bye, everyone.